Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Align with Laina. Here we are. The very first Align with Laina is taking place today. So today, August the 7th of 2017. And the reason I've decided to create this show, Align with Laina, is because years ago, I used to have a call-in conference call where people would join me on the phone and we would talk about life experiences, and I would share tips and tools about the spiritual journey that I wanted to help people understand. And it became very clear that we are in the midst of an incredible shift in consciousness. People are waking up. This has been going on for a very long time. Now, I don't want to get into the details of how I've come to understand that there is a shift in consciousness happening, because the gift that has been given to me through my own spiritual awakening, which started 15 years ago this month, is that I have come to understand the way that we have blocked our magnificence, the way that we have fallen asleep. So what is super easy for me is helping people wake up by understanding the mechanics of how our ego got created. So you're going to hear me talk about certain elements. For example, ego. What is ego? Then the beliefs that we hold that block our truth is contrary to what is my truth when I am awake. That is what ego is all about. So the journey, in essence, is a peeling back of the layers, peeling back of the beliefs, letting go of a way of thinking that is not true to us. And the best way for me to share what that looks like is through examples. So I am going to dedicate all of my Align with Laina events to having an interview with somebody who is an ordinary person who has gone through their own awakening. And I call it an extraordinary awakening because it requires an incredible amount of courage to go. And the reason is really simply put your reasoning cap, because if the ego is the beliefs that are not true about us, and that has caused us to live in the world asleep, in an illusion, unaware, then it must be the reverse process that creates the experience of awakening. So we have to question all of the beliefs that we thought were true so that we can see how they are not true. And that is what allows us to experience what is awakening. Now, awakening to me goes through many phases. Specifically, it starts with curiosity. You got to want to know what else is out there. What else besides what I believe to be true? So it's a process of questioning everything that you know. But then begins the process of choosing the truth. And when we're used to the truth of who we are, it requires practice. It's no different. We're exercising an awakened muscle, an awareness muscle, a truth muscle. So we're going to have to practice it over and over and over again. I have found that hearing other people's stories makes my understanding of the journey a lot smoother, a lot simpler. So I have today a wonderful, wonderful guest. She is a phenomenal woman. She is my friend. Her name is Natalia Brodofsky. She has been on her journey for quite a while now, gracious enough to come on board. Now, I do want to let you know that it takes a lot of courage to share, and I love sharing my life, because part of the process of awakening is a releasing of secrets, a not having anything about myself that I wouldn't want to share, because to be awake is really to be transparent. It's a return to the essence of who we are before we make up definitions, ideas that cause us to believe that there's something right or wrong about us. So for me, being totally transparent is natural now, but the guests that I'm going to be bringing on board, not all of them have been able to share their story on such a big format like this one, an open forum like Facebook Live. So I do commend her courage for being willing to not only be my first guest, but at the same time to come out here and allow herself to have a dialogue. So without further ado, I want to bring my friend Natalia, and I am learning this Facebook Live program through a platform called Be Live. So let me see if I can bring her on board. Natalia, there you are. Beautiful Natalia.
Here I am. Hello, Laina. I love you. Hello, my wonderful Facebook friends and Laina's friends. And Laina's friends are my friends.
Yes, we're all friends. Absolutely. No doubt about that. So Natalia, first of all, thank you so much for being a part of this. And as I was saying to the audience, it takes a lot of courage. And I remember you telling me you were a little bit nervous about coming out here and putting your story there.
A lot of nerves. I'm nervous what I could say on live camera.
You're fine. So the best way to do this is just follow my cue. And you do not have to answer anything that you feel uncomfortable answering. It is absolutely perfectly okay. So I've known you for a very long time, so we will be able to move through various questions and it's going to be okay. All you need to do is just stay there, relaxed and open, and align with me in the intention that what we're sharing is going to touch at least one person, that somebody out there needs to hear what's going to come out of this conversation, and it's going to make a difference. Because align with Laina means, and the truth of who we are is the same for everybody. How we come to that truth is what is different. So the purpose of having so many different guests is going to be to show all of the many ways that we'll come to know the one truth that is true always. And that is, every single one of us is the essence of the creator, regardless of what we call this energy, creative source of all that is. You and I are expressions of it. When we align with that truth, we are authentically ourselves. When we don't align with the truth, then we are living from our ego. We're operating inside of the limiting beliefs about who we think we are. So let's just get started now that we are got past the introductions. So tell me, go back into your life. When did you begin to feel that there was something more to life than what you have been taught was real? Let's start there.
I can't think. I always felt like there's something else. Like as a child, all children do not like rules. It doesn't feel natural to them. And probably more like in teenage years, I started to question everything and just the way the society is, and everything didn't feel right to me, didn't feel good to me. And in Russia, growing up without religion, because when I was growing up, the religion was underground. I mean, people were not persecuted for their religious beliefs, but being a good active member of society and pioneer and Komsomol and all those child and teenage organizations, you were atheist. You didn't believe in God. You didn't believe in... I remember laughing at my grandmother when she was very religious and she was going to church every day and praying every day, and I was laughing at her like, oh, what do you think? Like, oh, you believe in God? What do you think? There's an old man on the cloud with the beard sitting and watching everybody. I was preteen then, that cocky, and she wouldn't argue with me. She was just like, you don't understand. She was like, it's okay, because she knew I don't.
Yeah. So,
and
so you were questioning the rules and the regulations and even doubting your grandmother's practice of connecting to something outside of herself, something greater than herself. So take me through what were some of the rules that you were being taught that you were questioning?
First thing comes to mind, growing up in USSR, behind the Iron Curtain, it seemed very strange to me. I remember I was a child then, and I was asking, I don't understand how is it happening? We all getting born on this earth, just children. Who decides what do I do? Where's the government come from? Why somebody decides and telling me where I can go, where I can't go, why I can't go across the border, why I can't live in a different country, and things like this. It was very strange to me.
So you were already becoming very curious about the limitations that were being set on the people of Russia. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I remember.
So let me ask you then, how were you able then to take on the rules and regulations to follow them? If question, did you follow the rules, or did you stay basically saying no to the rules? I want to understand what happened to you from the time that you were curious until you began to enter your spiritual awakening again, which happened later on in life, when you began to really go into the questioning of your beliefs. So I want to know that space from you being a curious child until you really began to delve into your spirituality. Did you begin to follow the rules, or were you a rule breaker during that period?
Yeah, and as with many people, probably something unpleasant. In my case, tragedy. For my personal life, it was a tragedy that woke me up. And I think from the young age, I haven't been in other people's skin. I can't tell it, but I was.
I only want your story, so that.
Yeah, I've been very sensitive to everything, to people being mean and whatever, untruthful, being betraying. It's really hurt me a lot, and I was really open child. I felt like loving everybody, trusting everybody, and when people betraying my trust, it's really hurt me. And little by little, episode by episode, it's starting to collect on my soul. And when I was about 20, and we all let me say that.
Just you.
Yeah, and I was probably like everybody, I was searching for love. I did feel unloved, unaccepted, and kind of alone. And I was, despite me having friends, despite me having a good family, I was feeling alone and unloved and unaccepted, and I was looking for that someone who will give it to me. And so, as luck will have it, I've met an extraordinary man, and I fell in love, and in a few short months we set up a wedding, and I was over the moon. He was a god to me. Looking back from later years and knowing what I know, I understood that was that was very wrong, making an idol, a god, out of a person. And so,
but at that time you did not know that. So walk me through this.
I was happy that finally I am in a union. Finally, I feel secure. I feel loved, accepted, and safe.
Yeah. So here you are. You find this man. You fall in love, and now life probably was perfect for you. You have the love of your life.
life was absolutely perfect. Yes. And then
So then,
mhm.
so take me forward and now life is perfect. Now I want you to walk me forward just around that time. Describe what made life so perfect for you at that time.
The way, now I would say the way I felt. I didn't feel alone. I felt loved and adored. I felt special. I felt the one and only. I felt safe and secure. I didn't feel alone. I felt like I'm not separated from everybody else. I am in a union with somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, so this man begins to be the source that you are believing of your safety,
Yes.
security, of your. So, and we all do that. That's part of the illusion. That is part of what we're waking up from, is that somebody else is the source of our happiness, of our joy. So when did that illusion, when did that story begin to fall apart for you? Because here you have this man and now you're creating an identity about you being safe and secured and adored. So now how many more years before that begins to create discomfort, before you begin to feel there's something off here?
Oh, it's happened very quickly because we planned our wedding for August, like I don't remember, late August, and in May, he decided to go. My fiance decided to go to America because he wasn't. He wanted something more, and so he went to America with that student exchange program for just summer work time. And he's like, oh, I'll be back and I'll make money to start our life together. I'll be back for the wedding. And he wasn't back for the wedding, but we were planning small wedding. He's like, it's all going so well. I would rather you come here. It's so wonderful. I'm making money. And it was really difficult time in Russia. Before that, it was the early 90s. There were very little private owned businesses, practically none. Everything was owned by government, and government was in ruins. And so nobody get paid. I remember time when I didn't get paycheck for 6 months. And that was another story. But so I completely understood that decision of my fiance. I mean, he didn't decide. He asked me. He said, would you rather come and join me here? I was like, absolutely. And so he didn't come back in August. And
yes, he didn't come back. And then did you come to the U.S. at that time?
I didn't. And whole year of getting a visa and all this and just being apart from him, it was a total hell.
Yeah.
It's like being, disconnected from the air. Every second was torture, and I was living only waiting for his call or letter. And long story short, year later in May or something, I didn't get a visa, American visa. So American government didn't allow me the entry into the country. And I knew that was over. And the moment I walked out of the American embassy, I felt that life is over for me. And I was seriously contemplating like going and falling under the passing car, because I felt that we won't be together. And so after that, all my hopes and dreams, they all bottling up and collecting in me for a year. It's all crushed. And it was absolutely terrifying. And I was still hoping so the next few years were total hell emotionally. And then I was starting to look for something else. I was 22 at that time when it happened. So after some times I realized I have to start living again. And then I started to look for help, for the solutions.
And is that when you began to enter into what you would call your spiritual journey, where you began to become aware?
Yes, and I don't remember exactly what brought it. I guess maybe all that still Christian, even I didn't believe in God. My grandmother, whose house I spent 3 months all the summer vacation from school and teenage years. So I heard her, and then later I started to be more accepting of the Christian beliefs. And we still all knew, like, oh, you're doing something wrong, God will punish you. And of course I had a lot of thoughts. What did I do? Why did God punishing me? What did I deserve? Like all kinds of things. And at that time, probably I came across of a Louise Hay book. It was actually not even book, but little brochure. And it was the first book that introduced me to the principles that we are deciding how we feel or what we think. Maybe not how we feel, but what we feel comes what we think. So first, I came about this concept.
Yeah, that must have been pretty radical.
Yeah, it was extremely liberating. I was like, ah! This was amazing.
So let's start there. So here, because everybody has a moment that is a defining moment when the awakening begins to happen. And the awakening is really, we begin to look at things differently. As A Course in Miracles says, we begin to shift our perception. So up until that point, you are experiencing the contrast of the love of your life, feeling so safe and granted a visa. It's like the love of your life, everything ends. So it's almost as if you have no control over the feelings and emotions that are happening inside of you. Mm-hmm. The world is doing this to you because the man that you love left, then the government is not going to let you go join him. So let's start with that Louise Hay book. What were some of the things that were profoundly shifting for you that had you begin to look at things differently so that you can begin to regain your power from feeling like at some level, you wanted to commit suicide, which is like feeling victimized because what you wanted was taken from you? What began to shift inside of you as you are reading or hearing this information for the first time, that your thoughts, your feelings, all of that is happening all over it?
First of all, I feel liberated, but hope. I felt hope. That's the very big thing. And I felt like it's not over. There is something else. And it was just, I'm sorry.
Something specific. Hope in what? What was not over for you?
The happiness, the chance of being happy, the chance of joy and love and peace, emotional peace. It's may come back.
So now that you've got that hope and you know that this love, this peace, this emotional happiness can come back, now walk me from there forward. And so basically till now, what are some of the things that you have discovered as you began to realize that you have more power inside of you to be able to affect your happiness? Take me through the steps that you have been going through that has helped you understand that happiness is not subject to the things outside of you, to changes in circumstances. how have you developed that level of confidence in happiness being inside of you over all these years? I know it's many, many years, but give me a sense of what has allowed you to stay grounded in that. And I know we pull out of that many times, but things that you have discovered, get grounded in the truth, that you don't have to give up hope about happiness. It's always available to you.
Yes. And I grew up knowing the things that are certain. And one of the things that happiness and love and approval, it comes from the outside. Your parents, your friends, the family, your friends, they love you, they approve of you, they giving you prizes in the competitions, they name you the smartest, the prettiest, the most successful, and then you are. And when it's not happening, you're in a dark hole, feeling like you're nobody, like you're undeserving, you're stupid, you're ugly, you're unsuccessful. And after reading Louise Hay's book, and at that time I read Jonathan Livingstone, The Seagull by Richard Bach, and his other Reluctant Messiah. That book became my Bible because it has all the chapters of the lessons Messiah was giving. And so I was outlining those lessons, and lessons saying that we are creating our reality. And it's felt right to me. And I remember I went to some energy healing workshop. It's probably was, I don't remember which came first, Louise Hay or that energy, the healing workshop. And I was introduced to principles, how energy work when we closing up and trying to be conservative. It's less energy and we distance ourselves from people, and if they offended you, did something, so you have to retreat, and that's not good for you. You cut in your own energy supply, and and there's less chance when you closed up and hiding that you can reconnect with those people and understand what's going on. And everything I heard, it didn't seem like, oh my God, such an foreign new information. It's felt to me like, right, oh my God, it makes sense. And it's felt to me like I was remembering it, like I knew it, but nobody I knew taught me it. Nobody I heard had those concepts in life. So, and later, all what I'm talking about, and later I found out that, oh my God, we do know everything. And we do have the knowledge.
When you were younger, you were experiencing a questioning of things because something inside of you was aware. All of us are born with this knowingness of truth. I mean, it's just who we are because we are the essence of truth itself. As you said earlier, as a little child, you were questioning these things, but then you began to get conditioned as society does inside. So you meet a man and you fall in love, and of course that's your source of happiness. And when you can't meet with him, there goes your happiness. And then you find a little Facebook, you do the energy work. And yes, we are energy beings. And when we contract, we literally pull back our life force. We become suppressed, depressed, repressed. Then take me to, you begin to realize that you're remembering your truth. And yes, that book, Jonathan Livingston Seagull, is beautiful. I remember seeing that movie when I was a child going, wow, that is who I really am. And I was a small child also. And then you ended up coming to America, and here you are. Let's talk about, for the last half part of this time, understand the truth of who you are, that you are the source of your happiness, that you are the source of your joy, that it's inside of you, not outside of you. How has that shaped your life? Now you ended up coming here, you're a mother, you're a wife, you've got grown children, your baby is
17
now in high school. So tell me about, what are some of the things that have happened in your life as a result of you having the awareness that you're always, always connected to your happiness, or not internally? Nothing outside of you does it to you.
First of all, I would say a little bit about how my journey to America started. So apparently I never left the hope come to America and find my fiance, and he was and that's I feel like that's why we met. So I would be drawn to come to this country and met the teachers like you, like Laina, like Rika Zimmerman, my another beloved teacher. And but prior to coming here from country that was in deep economic depression, and people didn't have hope at that time, and at that time 30 more years ago, for women, the goal was get married and have a family, have children, then you are a successful woman. And so all of my relatives, they were trying to find a suitor for me. And they were very upset that I was spending all my money on seminars and books.
Trying to make yourself better.
Yeah, they're like, oh my God, you should have dye your hair, or you should have buy a new dress or something, and look for the man who'll make you happy. And look, what are you doing? You're 25 years old and you doing all those seminars, spending your money there. And but
we're on the path.
I had a vision. The way I want to live, and then it came true, like practically word to word. And when it's all happened, everybody was amazed. They're like, oh my God, now we believe in dreaming, now we believe in visioning, because you proved to us. And I felt when it's all happened to me, when I did meet a wonderful man, much more amazing than I was expecting, and got married and had a child. It was a dream. But it's all happened when I got aligned inside. I met that person who loves and accepts me, who makes me not feel alone, who always supports me. And it wasn't my future husband, it was me. Like when Richard Bach's book said, if you want to meet person who has answers to all the questions, who will never leave you, who will support you, and blah, 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 that's the only one person in the world. Look in the mirror. And that's what happened. And it was amazing period in my life. And when I was aligned with love, with joy, with happiness, I got to visit to America like this. And I didn't have money. I didn't want to go, but my friend talked me into it. I decided I had enough searching. I'll stay home and I'll paint, I'll do whatever. I'll find people, I'll find friends, I'll find a way to get along with my mom, living in the same apartment with her. And it's all changed when I became happy where I was. And so I came to America, and I felt like I knew all the life secrets, and I was so amazing and wonderful. And
one of the things,
the new challenges happen.
let me take a second to highlight something here, because you, at a very young age, began to realize that there's more to you than being a fiance or getting married, that that's your true happiness. Sure, it's wonderful to have those partnerships, but at a young age, you began to question things. You began to go on a journey of self-awareness. And as you became more self-aware, like you said, you began to align with the truth in you. And then, of course, when we align with the truth in ourselves and we pay attention synchronistically, there is a movement that is connecting us. As you said, you knew you wanted to come to America, but maybe that first fiance was just the one who planted the seed about America, so that at the right time, appropriate for you, you could actually come to America. And then you came with a level of awareness that had you be more confident about who you are, and the love that you are, the confident self that you are, bringing that out into the world. So now, with that awareness, as has been my experience, you have that self-awareness, and then you meet a man, and then you have a family. What happened to your self-awareness when life began to happen? When you had children and you got busy in the day-to-day life, tell me, how aware were you as you now are becoming a parent? And now you're teaching your child how to live by the rules. So let's talk about that a little bit. Life as a mother who is aware, and now all of a sudden you have to participate in the programming of your children.
When you become comfortable, you will get invited. And if you're not going willingly, get dragged screaming and kicking and screaming into a new level, into a new expansion. So my first child, my son, was born very unagreeable with social rules and standards, as you know, and it was really difficult time at home. I could deal with him running around in the restaurant. I was like, he's a child, that's normal. And here it's people more understanding of children like this, but in Russia at that time when I was growing up, children have to be seen, not heard, and probably better not seen. And but starting from whatever daycare, from Mother's Day out, when he was 3, 4, and went to the in those places first, it was very difficult. And it was very difficult for me to see the child who just wants to be free and happy, not wants to be, by a little soul who is free and happy and doesn't understand those rules, and not being malicious, being punished in so it was difficult for me, but I didn't know how to deal with him, because he, like, rules wouldn't apply with him. I couldn't work on the thing in my mind was, all you need is love. But what love for me is still, the understanding what love is still very warped in my mind. And
that's a very good point that you're making, because when we are unaware, love is warped in our mind, because love is very conditional. So what were some of the things that you realized were conditions that you were? Give me a couple of examples if you can remember, or even your daughter, conditions that were placed on them to be able to receive your love or to feel loved by society.
Okay, would you repeat your question, please? You're a little bit going.
That's all right. So what were some of the conditions, the warped idea that we have about love is conditional love. What were some of the conditions that you still had, even though you were becoming self-aware as a parent and wanting to fit into society around you and the the people in your community and around the school, what are some of the conditions that you have placed on your children for them to feel loved by you?
First of all, for me, growing up, when I was starving for love and acceptance, and I still wanted it from the society, from the friends, and from the neighbors, craving even. And because I was still not giving it to myself. And I remember how painful it was, and I still felt how painful it was, and I didn't want my child to be ostracized or not accepted. So I was very upset that he couldn't follow the rules. Why wouldn't you just listen what teachers say? Why wouldn't you just say, yes, ma'am? Why wouldn't you just shut up and do what you ask? And he wouldn't agree. There were no authorities for him.
Yes.
And,
so he has something inside of him wanting to, that is his own authority. And clearly, even though we realize, this is why the journey of awakening it takes such a long time, because you had realized that happiness was inside of you. But then when we become parents, we really want our children to have a happy life, and we think that they will be happier if they follow the rules, because then they won't get in trouble. So here you are.
Then they'll be loved and accepted.
Exactly. Then they'll be loved and accepted. And I know your children, and they did. Your son decided not to follow the rules, and here he is headed off to college this fall. So tell me, what was it like for you as on your own spiritual journey over the years, coming to terms with that you are the source of your own happiness, and at the same time, watching your children learn to work in society, because, you know, just because we're awake doesn't mean that we're not. How did you balance listening to source inside of you and teaching your children to be individuals, and at the same time to participate in society?
As with everything, and you know, in the beginning of your spiritual journey, you just want to, okay, you got new set of rules, but you still being forceful with them. So I was shoving down the throat of my children and Wayne Dyer and everything and all this. That's you're wrong. This is right, and do and da. So that pretty soon they couldn't hear any smart advice from me. They're like, blah 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 blah. I'm not listening. So, my idea of changing the outside world so I'll be comfortable, so everybody will behave appropriately for me feeling the peace of mind, it didn't happen anyway. So I was turned back to myself, to change myself, to work on myself, to change my perception, to accept that I can't control life of other people, even life of my children. Heck, controlling my own life or even my thoughts and feelings was a huge challenge.
Yes, let's talk about you, just you now. And, you know, going through the spiritual journey, I can hear your sweet little puppy there.
He is like behind two doors. He's so lovely.
Yes, he wants to be part of it all. So let's talk about your own personal spiritual journey, because this is the part that is really helpful to others to understand that we're not alone. We're not the only ones going through the same thing. So share, without going into a whole lot of detail, but just generally share, what are some of the most uncomfortable aspects of the journey that you had to go through? Things that were really uncomfortable for you.
Oh my God, definitely the um, seeing my own shadow, because we all holding the outside world responsible for everything that happens to us. Seeing how I participated in pain and suffering that I was feeling, that how I myself created it, actively or inactively.
Say a little bit more about that.
I'm sorry?
Give me some examples of how you participated in creating some of that, your own suffering.
I had a long conflict with the family member, and I was so hurt by their behavior. And I just couldn't forgive them. And then it's escalated to the point when at some point we had to live together for a couple of weeks. It's escalated to the point when I was not even 40 years old yet, and my blood pressure was skyrocketing to 200 and over. And then I realized that, oh my God, it's not them, it's me. I don't care what they did, but I have to take care of myself. In order to save my life, I have to forgive them. And about that time, I met you. And it's not your teachings, because I didn't hear your teachings much, but how you handle situation with your children, with your daughter trying to commit suicide, and how you handled it. Because it was very difficult for me to go through some kind of personal pain, and seeing that it's possible that my life didn't have to end, that it didn't end when the love of my life was gone, and love of my life at that time, that understanding. And I remember, and you probably remember, my first time when I came to that healing circle at the church, when I got up and we were talking about that situation, and we were talking a long time, and I wouldn't budge. And then you said, just sit down. Obviously, your ego doesn't let you to see the situation clearly. And I was like, those people are wrong. And in my mind was forgiving them, saying, approving of what they've done. I was like, oh, it's okay then. Oh, I forgive you. Like, it's okay. What you did is fine. But then I realized that it's not approving them. It's just I'm the one who is killing myself with that. I don't want to say hate, but what is that? Unpleasant feelings, blaming.
Exactly. That blame is a righteousness.
Yeah.
It's where we are deciding that whatever somebody did should not have happened. And that is of our suffering, is that we want to hold somebody else responsible for what we're doing to ourselves internally. And I remember that day when you came to that first event, and I did tell you, yeah, your ego's not ready. And it's always fascinating to watch somebody the first time that they hear that, because it feels very offensive to that individual sense of self. What do you mean I can't handle it? What do you mean I don't want to let go of this? But you were
didn't. I was holding on to my suffering.
You did, but you eventually, part of your courage is that you eventually wanted to hear, you eventually wanted to see, and it began the process of dissolving. So talk about that transformation from, even though you had all this spiritual awareness, your mind had information about what spirituality looks like, but still inside of that, there was this righteousness and this judgment towards your relative. What finally how do you let go of that righteousness so that you could begin of letting you let go of that suffering for you?
First of all, few things. Few things. But first of all, understanding that person does the best they can do at their level of consciousness and their level of seeing the situation and their level of understanding the situation and perceiving it. Like you were saying, I love that example that if we see something, we see it only from one point of view, and maybe that's what the person saw, and I saw the cute cat with the hearts and somebody saw yellow cat with the hearts, and we could fight which color is the cat, and we're always looking from only one point of view and understanding there is many different points of view, and it's not only one possibility. It was definitely that's what helped me. And second, that looking for the lesson in that situation, or what did it teach me, what qualities that it's cultivated in me, who I became through this. It was very important to me. That was very important. Yeah.
What was one of the lessons of yourself?
You were breaking up. I can't hear. Just a second. I think maybe my telephone the charge is going down. Okay, say it again, please, Laina.
So what was something that you discovered, a lesson that you discovered about yourself as you went through that inquiry process?
Mm-hmm.
As you began to see that other person as a teacher.
Yes, what I discovered about myself, I got to see my shadows, that I was demanding. I was in the victim role. I was still very much depending on the outside world, judging who I am, and then what I discovered, that actually it's all depends on me, the power in my hands, the way I see the situation. Yeah,
it's a full responsibility for how we perceive things is liberating.
Absolutely.
At the same time, it's very scary because now it's all up to you. It's all up to me. And all the power is here. So that's of awakening, is that there's nobody else to blame. But in the world, we're so used to having somebody else take responsibility for things, having them be the ones who are the source of our happiness and misery. So it's a powerful, powerful process. So listen, we're going to wrap up here, but tell me, you're sort of saying that your grandmother had a relationship with God. So now that you have been on your journey for quite a while, and I know how much you are committed to freeing yourself to be the authentic self that you really are. Tell me a little bit about what have you come to discover about, no matter what you call it, God, source, spirit, the source of all that is, that your relationship with it now, and how would you describe it?
Yes, that's so little time for the most exciting part. Yes, participating in my coaching program with Rika Zimmerman, and studying with you, Laina, and especially studying the Course in Miracles and the Course on Love, of Love. That's another things that felt very organic, that I realized that we are always connected to the source. We're never alone. We're never disapproved, and we're never unloved. And that's what my search was all along. And now even the life conditions wouldn't change, or people in my life wouldn't change. It doesn't matter. I feel love. I feel connection. I know I can never be alone. It doesn't, I'm not saying that there is no challenging situations or emotions comes up. It still comes up. But now I know what it is. And that it's wonderful. I have a peace in my heart now.
So talk a little bit about how do you cultivate that experience? How do you maintain that fresh at all times? Because the world has so many distractions. How?
Definitely, you have to have a daily spiritual practice. If people, I'm doing meditations. I'm reading the Course in Miracles and Course in Love. We have our weekly classes. That was tremendous help for me, and support was of like-minded people, and me sharing my knowledge with my friends, with the couple of clients I have as a coach. It's helping you, because our brain comes back to the old programming. So you have to remember, you making a choice, like you teaching, you have, and actually, you know, the Christian religion, they teaching you have one voice on one side and one voice on another side. You choose who to listen. It's yeah. So every moment, every day, you make a choice. Am I choosing believe I am good and God is good and we're connected, or I'm choosing believe that people are evil and somebody does something to me and I'm weak and I'm alone? That's comes back to it. Remembering who we are. We're angels living on earth.
Yes, we are. And, you know, here we are at the completion of this time together. So I want to thank you for your willingness to come in and be with me and share your wisdom and share your time and share your story, because it does. We help one another when we're willing to share, to be open, to express what's going on in our lives. And it really, truly is amazing that I get to be with you in several of my study groups. Like you said, A Course in Miracles that I do on Tuesday nights in Marietta at Unity North. And then you're also part of the Wednesday nights where we study A Course of Love, which is also channeled by Jesus. And it's like a continuation to A Course of Love. Is a very practical, how all of this, how do we really put into practice this spiritual awakening? What does that look like? It's a beautiful process that Jesus takes us on, a beautiful journey. So I want to thank everybody who joined us today, who, whether you were with us for a few minutes or the entire hour. I am going to be doing these every Monday at 12 o'clock noon Eastern Standard Time. And I've got several clients of mine, because I am a life coach, as well as other people that are friends of mine that have gone through a spiritual awakening. Next week on August 14th, I'm going to have Hope. And the week after that, on Monday the 21st, I'm going to have Means Davis. And Means is not only a friend of mine, but he's also a business coach. So with both of them and with everybody else that I'm going to be interviewing, we're going to be talking about what does it look like in our life to be awake, to go through this process of letting go of our small sense of self. It is a journey of incredible courage. All of the stories will be different because all of the people will be different. But I also would love for you to send me a message, whether you do it via Facebook or send me an email to Laina@lainaorlando.com. And tell me, what are some subjects that you would like for us to discuss in these Align with Laina hour every week? Or maybe you've got some suggestions of somebody you would like for me to interview. And I would love to hear from you. If you want to know more about my work, go to my website, didnt.com. Understands simple to understand, because one of the things that I have realized on this journey is that there's a lot of jargon that's whether it's overly mystical jargon or over psychological jargon. I like to make the spiritual journey simple to understand, because when it's simple to understand, we can actually begin to apply the principles a lot faster, a lot smoother. So I see Natalia just joined us again. But anyhow, again, LainaOrlando.com is where you can come and find information about me. And at the same time, I found it helpful because we are meant to help each other. We truly are here to help each other awaken. Everything that I learn, if I share it with you, if you take one piece from that, it's going to be wonderful, and you can share that with somebody else. We each touch people that nobody else can touch, because we each have our own little circles that we connect with. So thank you so much for being here with us. And aligning with our truth is remembering that we are truly magnificent, because it's how we have been created. We don't make ourselves magnificent. The Creator created us magnificent. Our work in awakening is the remembering of that, so that we can let everybody else off the something outside of us to complete us and make us whole. It is all about being fully, authentically ourselves, and then sharing that with the world. What a gift that becomes for everyone. So again, thank you for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you next week on Monday at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, noon, for another episode of Align with Laina. Thanks, and remember, we are magnificent. Bye. Thank you, Natalia.